If you're planning on buying a house anytime between now and May, you're probably going to find yourself in a competitive situation for these properties. I am going to bring you tips and tricks to show you how to win. Hope you'll stick around to the end, where I am going to give you a Twin Cities market update that takes 1 minute or less. If we haven't met before, I'm on my 7th year as a real estate agent serving the West Metro. My name's Erica Carlson. I'm with a boutique brokerage called Bricks Real Estate. Thank you for joining me. So diving right in, I do feel like a broken record. It's always important to get pre-approved before you really start house shopping. And what I mean by that is that it's not that you have like a tangible letter from your lender of choice, and hopefully you're thoroughly through the underwriting process. So there's absolutely no surprises for you or anybody else during the transaction. Now, different lenders call these letters different things. Like, I've asked for people to get a pre-approval letter and they've corrected me and called it a pre-qualification letter. I do think different companies call it different things. So don't let that hang you up. The big thing is, have you given them W-2s, tax statements, things like that, and have fully gone through the process with you so you have that pre-approval. If you do this step, and I know you're tired of hearing me say it, but truly, like, people want to skip this. They just want to go house shopping. It's a mistake. Houses are going to be selling faster for the next few months, and you will be 2 steps behind, even more, because you're going to find the perfect house and now you're scrambling. If you're cash, you do need a proof of funds. And if you're not sure what that looks like, work on that as you're looking at houses, because again, sometimes that's transferring money around. Maybe you're not exactly sure what you need to get. And sometimes it's a lot bigger deal than just like taking a screenshot. You need your first and last name. There needs to be evidence that it is in fact you. Building a strong offer means that you are thinking about the seller and probably a little bit less about yourself. So what do I mean by that? Put yourself in their shoes. What would be perceived as a good offer? That doesn't mean you have to give away the farm. So a couple of examples. Earnest money. While it's traditionally 1-2% of the purchase price of the house, there's no rule that says you can't go higher than that. I have seen some really strong numbers in the past where it's like, that's unbelievable. But people that really want to win, they do what they can. Now, that's not to say you have to. If that isn't your comfort zone and you're worried about losing that money, work closely with your real estate agent so you understand the contingencies you are building into it. So maybe it's not as scary as it actually sounds. And again, that difference that you went a little bit up and beyond compared to everybody else who wrote an offer on that house could be enough to like push you over the edge and be the winner. Closing date. Well, you might have some preferences, but the important thing is, what does the seller want? They want a quick closing. Do they actually want time to shop for a house? Do we need to build in a rent back so they have more time to shop for a new property? These are not questions you're going to directly ask as a buyer. That's your agent's job, but encourage your agent to find out before you're just slapping that offer together. What do we need to know that's important? That piggybacks off of shorter contingencies. If you think about it again from the seller's point of view, the less time you're wrapping the house up in contingencies, the more confident they are that you're going to move forward and be their buyer. And if you're not, like, don't drag them on and on. So if you need 7 days to get your inspection and that's what's realistic, then do it. Don't offer 3 and then beg for more. That's probably just not a good taste, but I'll stop there because I don't want to get long-winded on that point. Escalation clauses are not necessarily something everybody's heard of. So I'm going to give you a big point of view, but then if you ever want to use one in your contract, make sure you're working with your agent closely. Not all agents are comfortable writing these. Not all agents on the other side or sellers on the other side like them. So you certainly don't want to go down this rabbit hole where you're like, let's do this, and then the seller doesn't appreciate it and won't consider it. And yes, that often can happen if someone really likes the idea of an escalation clause, but the other person doesn't. So typically when you write an offer, the amount of money is just, it's pretty black and white. It's like, let's just use some numbers. It's 300,000. Now that other party would have to counter me if they wanted more or whatever. So with an escalation clause, you say, here's what I want. Let's say 300. But in the event that you get another offer that's better than mine and you can prove it, I'll go up to, let's say, 315 or 310, whatever. The number doesn't matter. It's your cap. You don't want to, with an escalation, you don't want to leave it unlimited. Like that would set you up for failure. There's pros and cons to this decision. Sometimes it just doesn't even matter. Like, we've implemented escalation clauses with past clients, and sometimes we found out the other party didn't even go above asking. So, but again, we didn't have to pay that cap because they had to prove they had an offer and it was legitimate, and there's safeguards in there so that the other agent can't run off and ask their friend to quickly drum up another purchase agreement and then like pin it against you. So again, pros and cons. I think this is a great tool because it makes us feel like we have a little bit more control. A lot of times when we are writing offers, again, like when we just have to put like this one number on there and then the other party comes in and let's say they're even $1,000 over us, it's all blind. This is a blind silent auction. That's what it is. It's not a bloodbath. I mean, I've heard people use different words about being in competition. It's none of those things. It's a silent auction. And so if you're trying to make the playing field go a little bit more in your favor and also like possibly not have to pay that top mark. So instead of just offering 315, you still have that potential of only paying 300. This could be a nice tool in your tool belt. Definitely talk to your agent about it if it's something you're curious about. Again, don't expect everybody to be comfortable with it. The language needs to be written correctly. And that's going to go beyond the scope of this video, obviously, but you do want to make sure it's well written. The other thing that's not talked about a lot is, what can I do with my inspection period? I'm going to recommend you get an inspection, but traditionally we are obviously getting the inspection, getting the results, and then we have a decision. Do I want to move forward with the purchase? Do I want to cancel the purchase, or do I want to renegotiate the terms? And that typically looks like either asking for some repairs to be done or asking for a discount, monetarily, in closing costs, in the price, whatever. There's a lot of moving parts there, trying to keep that part simple. However, with a pass fail, I don't mean like the inspector is giving the house an F or giving the house an A. It means you are the grader. The inspector is just going to do their job. They don't know what the terms of your contract are. What you're telling the seller is, I'm going to get this inspection for me. If there's too many deal breakers, I want to leave this open that I can cancel this contract. On the flip side, if there's just a bunch of little stuff and it's not a big deal and I'm going to take care of it, I'm going to pass it, meaning I'm not going to ask you for any reduction of price, any repairs. Reason sellers like this, and again, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the seller, is they understand you want an inspection, but what they don't want to hear is that they've got $10,000, $20,000 worth of repairs to get the house sold. They don't want to hear that you offered this price and now you're taking the price away because you got an inspection. So when you offer a pass fail on the front side, people generally love it. They can be a little fearful of the fail part or the cancellation, but most people are like, cool, do that. I know you're not going to come back and nickel and dime me. Again, you want to read the room. You don't want to just offer it and then somebody finds it very off-putting. So writing personalized letters is something that typically my clients bring to me more than I bring to them. Every once in a while I'll say, yep, you can do this. The problem with, we call them love letters, is when you write a love letter, it's how you're structuring it. It doesn't mean it's ever going to get presented to the other party just because, you took time to do it. A lot of times people don't even have time to like throw these things together. If you do decide to do a love letter, I'm going to give you the biggest piece of advice here to, so it actually gets presented, which is talk about what you love about the house and how it's going to change your life. If you can focus on the impact of lifestyle, the things about the house that are like conveying that to you, that's better than saying, I'm Erica Carlson, I'm married, I have a 17-year-old with autism, blah, blah, blah. Okay, because what I did was I gave you a lot of data about me, which, I don't mind sharing with you guys. But in that situation, I don't want it used against me. And that's why some states have outlawed buyer love letters. Our state is currently allowing them, but not all listing agents and sellers will present them. So again, before you run off and think you've got like the secret sauce, and if I just tell them how much I love this house, they're going to sell it to me. That might work. There are people who are highly emotional and don't see this as much of a business decision, and they will be persuaded by it. I don't want to tell you not to do it, but I don't know. I think it's like this line, and I don't think you should be oversharing your personal story unless it pertains truly to the sale. And including pictures, again, can be used against you. Unfortunately, discrimination does exist, and we want to be mindful of that. All right, last couple things on this topic. You know, going back to the pre-approval, we have to be ready to move quickly. We sprint to houses, we don't jog to houses. We have to make decisions quickly. And that's why it's so important that you know what you're shopping for. Like if you are absolutely clear that like these are my must-haves, these are my nice-to-haves, and these are my deal breakers, when you see the house, you'll know exactly what it is so you can jump on it. You know, I would be failing you if I didn't tell you to work with somebody with a lot of experience, especially as a buyer's agent. There are people who just specialize on one side of the transaction or another. I don't think there's anything wrong with working with friends and family, but I think you should be vetting your team. Who's your loan officer should be local and reliable and with a great reputation, and your agent should be the same, not local. Obviously, that's a obvious thing to say, but you know, they should be, you know, great reviews. They should be personable with you. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them. They need to be able to write a strong, clean contract. How you are going to determine that as a consumer, you know, I suppose that's a whole nother video, but a sloppy, poorly written contract is not going to win you the house. You're up against somebody who's far more experienced, who knows how to build rapport with the listing agent. Your loan officer is going to do the same thing. You want a loan officer that's going to call on your behalf and fight for you and tell them why you're the best buyer for the house. You need a team of cheerleaders. I know you don't realize that, but great real estate agents and great loan officers are talking to the listing agent and conveying that you are the buyer. You're going to get to the finish line and you're going to do what you say you're doing. And hopefully you're doing it, because real estate is real simple. It's a good faith contract. The seller is genuinely going to sell. The buyer genuinely wants to buy, with these exceptions. We've talked about some of those today. You know, I'm going to jump into the market review here real quick. If you have questions about anything, if you've learned anything, I'd love for you to subscribe and follow me. You can go to my website, iHeartMPLS or MinneapolisHomes.com. The link below also takes you to all sorts of resources I have for you. And this month I'm doing, well, it's not even a month, it's January 29th. So we have until February 13th to register for my Valentine's giveaway. And I would absolutely love for you to join me there. That would be amazing. All right, last thing we're going to talk about today is our Twin Cities real estate market report. It is a couple days old. That's because my brokerage lets these release on Monday and I do my videos on Wednesday. So as you're quickly looking through, you can see, if you watch my videos, the star is moving to the right. And so last week we were at 5.18, so we've already moved further to the seller's market. And 30 days ago we were at 3.51. So it is really heating up. I'm not exaggerating. These are just the facts, right? Inventory is up 2.5% over this time last year. Our interest rates are hovering around 7%. Take that with a grain of salt. I'm not a loan officer. I'm just giving you general information. And average days on market are sitting at 40. And last week for the Twin Cities, we were at 48.6. And then 30 days before that, we were at 49.1. So we've been hovering around 50 for quite a while. And so we're moving into 40. And we still need to take this number with a grain of salt, because it's taking into account of everything, like things that went on the market, you know, months ago. And that's dragging that number in a very misleading way. So if you think you're going to hit the market and go see something that let's say you were just starting your house shopping experience today. You have this in your mind. Oh, it takes 40 days to sell a house. Actually, it's more like 8. So if the person, like if this is your first week and then they just listed their house on Thursday, you can't expect that house to sit there for 40 days unless it's really mispriced. I would think that house is going to sell in about a week if it's priced right, if it's good looking, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to be careful with the data in January because there were so many houses on the market before that didn't sell, and it's just very much an illusion. The last piece of data that I think you'll find interesting is we're sitting at about 4 showings per week per listing. Last week it was like a hair faster, but then 30 days before that it was at 2.63, which is obviously a weird and goofy number. That's for the 250 to 500K range. So obviously if it's a higher or lower price point, that's the Twin Cities at large, it's a little bit of an illusion. But what we mean is that sellers can expect about 4 showings per week. And like I said, the 40 is very much confusing, not very clear, because if you're listening now, that number should be taken with a huge grain of salt. I hope you found this information helpful. I certainly enjoy putting these videos together. I appreciate if you follow me on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. I'm always here to answer questions. Have a fantastic week.